Hello everyone, my name is Nikita Tanuwijaya from MBPC 5C and today I'll be doing my TOEIC project. So, what is TOEIC? TOEIC stands for the Test of English for International Communication. It is an international English test organized by ETS or Educational Testing Service. TOEIC measures how well someone can use English in a professional or workplace setting. The test has two main parts, listening and reading. But in this video, I'll focus only the reading section. The reading section has 100 questions divided into three parts. Part 5, incomplete sentences, Part 6, text completion, and Part 7, reading comprehension. So, in this video, I'm going to show you some practical tricks to make TOEIC reading questions easier to solve. So, let's start with the first question, shall we? So, this question is from section incomplete sentences, specifically about verbs. And when you see a question like this, you might start overthinking, like which one sounds right? Is it like market or markets or marketing? But there's a simple trick when you get this kind of question. Always focus on the word before blank. Let's highlight these three words: design, assemble, and blank. These are all verbs. In English, when verbs are connected with and, they must all be in the same form. That rule is called parallel structure. Now, what form are design and assemble? Both are base verb. Verb 1. Without s, ed, or ing. So, the last one must also be in the same form to keep the sentence parallel. So, let's check the option. B. Marketing ends with ing, so no. C. Marketed, that's past tense, no. And D. Markets ends with s, which we only use for singular subject like he or she, but our subject here is workers, plural. So, the correct answer is A. Market. It's verb 1. So all three verbs, design, assemble, and market, are now in the same form. Now, we are still in the part 5 about incomplete sentences, and looking at this question, we can immediately see from the multiple choice that this is about an if conditional. But before choosing the answer, we need to identify which type of if conditional it is. Looking at the if clause, if he had advertised, it has had plus past tense, which means it is conditional type 3. This talks about a situation that did not happen in the past. Once we know it is type 3, we focus on the main clause because that's we need to fill in. The formula for the main clause in type 3 is would or could or might plus have plus verb 2. Immediately, we can see that the correct answer is D, could have doubled, because it is the only option that fits this structure. The complete sentence is, the consultant could have doubled his business if he had advertised. This means he did not advertise, so the opportunity to double his business did not happen. Alright, now let's move on to our next question. This type of question appears very often in TOEIC incomplete sentences. It tests your understanding of word forms, and it's about adjective and adverbs. Now, let's highlight the main verb first, applauded. Applauded is an action verb, right? So, we are describing how they applauded. If we describe how something happens, that means we need an adverb. Now, let's remember the simple rule. Adjective describes a noun, for example, a beautiful dress, and adverbs describe a verb, adjective, or another adverbs. For example, she sings beautifully. So, because we're describing the verb applauded, we must use the adverb form. Now, let's look at the options. A. Enthusiastic. That's an adjective. For example, fantastic, energetic, optimistic. So, A doesn't fit. B. Enthused. That's actually a verb form, so it doesn't fit either. C, enthusiasm, that's a noun. For example, her enthusiasm is amazing. And D, enthusiastically, ends with ly or sometimes colly, which are the common endings for adverbs. For example, quickly, carefully, dramatically. So these are adverbs because it describes how an action happens. So the answer is D, enthusiastically. Now, let's look at our next question from the text completion section. This part tests not only your grammar but also your understanding of meaning and vocabulary. Let's read the sentence. Here, the word to is part of an infinitive phrase, not a preposition, because it followed by a base verb, not a noun. You can also use our inspection as a clue. It's a noun phrase, so the blank must be a verb that makes sense with it. Looking at the options quickly, be factor is definitely wrong because it's a noun. C, fascinate is a verb, but it means to attract or interest someone, which doesn't make sense with our inspection. And D, fasten is a verb, but it means to attach or secure, which also doesn't fit to the context. That leaves A, facilitate, as the only correct choice, meaning to make the inspection easier. Now, let's move on to the last part, reading comprehension. This part of TOEIC reading section tests how well you understand real-life written information like notices, schedules, or emails. Here, we have a notice titled City Bus Fare. The key strategy here is read the question first and then scanning. You don't need to read everything. You just look for numbers or keyword related to the question. So, what is the question here? What is the fare for an 8-year-old child? Let's scan the notice for information about children. Here we go. Adult children 6 to 12, $0.50. An 8-year-old child is the age range 6 to 12, so the answer is definitely B, $0.50. So that's all for my TOEIC reading project video. I hope my explanations and tricks can help you understand the reading sections more easily. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye!